I was wrong in doing what I did.
No! Are you listening?
The question is, and always will be, how do you trigger the untriggerable? There are fewer, more hellish scenarios than having a spouse that gets angry about everything. When you want to work on something, you have to figure out what triggers you. When you're bipolar, the weight of the world hits you. You have to really focus on controlling it. You have this undying sense of justice. You want justice. You want the scales to balance out. You want people to get what they deserve. Now, I know everybody does, but when you're bipolar, the feeling can become so intense. Panic attacks. You just feel your shoulders tighten to the point where it hurts. So you have to focus on that. Lorne, he doesn't know what's going on in the great wide world. I don't think we've ever heard anything more than Aretha Franklin dying. Most of his information and his knowledge comes from what his friends say or his family. He just repeats whatever he hears anyone else say. I cannot tell you how many people chose to do papers, essays, whatever, on social media, and the effect of a celebrity or a politician is angry. People who support that politician get angry. The people they call influencers, they get angry because they're supposed to follow suit, and it just trickles down. It's the truth, and it's on all sides. It's just the way it works. Lorne is a guy, I think he was told what he should be angry about at one point. He would see what other people got angry about, and he would adopt it as his own. When you're younger, it's pretty much who you hang out with, your friends, what they're angry about, what they think you should be angry about. It's like getting on the same menstrual cycle. When they say, when a bunch of women get in the house, they get on the same menstrual cycle. Well, I think it's that way when it comes to politics and religion, whatever else discussions there are. You all kind of have the same stance. It's not a bad thing. You just lose a bit of your individuality. Now, we know that Lorne, he's definitely an individual. He has nobody else. He doesn't have family. He doesn't have friends, at least those who, I don't think those he hangs around with or that love him as much as he desperately wants them to. Lorne will believe anything that anyone else tells him. Debbie made a good point. Well, there's a guy out there flying. We know that he only believes what he wants. Xavier Von Erck. To the next catfish, please, we are begging you, reveal that Xavier is not behind it all. Some of us are begging you to take that away from him so he can't use that anymore. To show him, look, man, Xavier Von Erck has moved on with his life. He's forgotten your name. Hell, even tell him that we contacted Xavier. And he's really confused, and he's angry that these catfish women are still using his name. Once NBC stopped there to catch a predator, he stopped. He was done. He wanted to bring justice to the world. He wanted to do good things, but it was such a mess. They all broke up, and he moved on with his life. Then you would tell Lorne, you haven't moved on with your life. Anyway, I digress. Xavier is a trigger for him. We know Xavier is a trigger. He's also an excuse. So you know what? He might not be the best example. Talking to other guys, trigger. Mentioning other guys, trigger. Mentioning his false, trigger. Everything is a trigger. Not doing what he says, trigger. So when you don't have any triggers, you can't figure out how do we make our relationship work. That's the nature of things. How do you figure out what it is that makes us have these big spats? What do we do? As a parent, you try to figure out what it is that sets your kids off. Not, I didn't get what I want in the store or anything like that, but what is it at school? What is it at home with your siblings? What is it that's causing all of this strife? It's very important. If you're not a parent and you're going to be a parent, I'm going to give you some advice real quick. I wish my ex would take this advice. When your kids do something maddening, you don't just go, that's it, turn in your electronics, turn in this, you're grounded forever. You don't respond with anger. I do sometimes, especially my son. Woo! He's a handful. Every day he goes to school, I'm like, oh man, are we going to get a call today? it's really not that bad. But when we do get a call, it usually causes trouble. And for about 3 years, 4 years, you know what, 6, 7 years, it was probably 8 years. I'm just going to keep moving it up. I'm thinking about the last time my ex would be like, I don't know what goes on at your house. At your house. My daughter stays with her mom most of the time. They have a really nice house. Like I said before, she gets a lot of stuff, lives comfortably. All my son cares about is how much time he gets to spend with me, what we do together. And that's important. So I try to make sure that when he and I talk, those moments mean something. I just don't say, that's it, I'm taking away your electronics. You don't learn anything. And there are so many electronics today, the kids are like, oh no, don't take away my Xbox. Boom, turn on a PS4 or PS5. This is why dealing with Lorne would be a nightmare. I talked to my son about what he did. I asked him how he responded. I asked him how he should have responded. And then we talk about how he's going to handle it in the future. I don't want him making the same mistakes as me, because I didn't like to feel embarrassment or sadness. And I did go to anger. And I do understand part of what Lorne goes through when he's dealing with things he doesn't like, when he's dealing with people he doesn't like, when he doesn't have control of a situation. When you feel out of control, you want control in a situation so you can control how out of control you feel. There are moments in life when things are so overwhelming you don't know how you're going to handle it. And with Lorne Armstrong, that's every moment. And he just blocks it out. If I don't think about it, it doesn't exist. The things that should be bothering him are his debt, how his family relationships, the fact that he's on probation and parole for eternity, the fact that he'll never get off of probation. He will be forever labeled as a pedophile. The stigma around him is, this guy's a psycho. That is what should make him angry and trigger him. When people tell him that, he should look at it like, I've got to fix this. I really have to fix this. I don't want to be known as this anymore. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to rage. I'm going to go absolutely ballistic, and I want people to stop. So how do I get them to stop looking at me like a rage monster? I know. Let me rage some more. I had a conversation last night. Now my son, he gets triggered when other people are doing things and he gets in trouble. So I have to make him understand that just because other people are robbing a bank doesn't mean that you shoplifting should be allowed. We've got Lorne and all those other guys' speeches that he gives. Just got a collision warning for a car that was 2 lanes over. Absolutely astounding. So when Lorne says all those other guys do this, he's trying to balance the scales in his favor. In reality, you put a normal person on one side and you put Lorne on the other. In terms of goodness, Lorne, it's going to tip in the other person's favor. In terms of evil, it's going to go in his favor. Now, I wouldn't consider Lorne evil, but I would think that I think it could be said about him, everything he does has evil intentions. He hasn't changed. It's in his nature. If you sat him down and you sat across the table and you're a psych or a therapist or guidance counselor and you talk to him, Lorne, what is it that's making you angry? What is it that's affecting you so? Well, all these other people. Lorne, if the entire world triggers you, if everybody else who's not on probation, who were on probation and got off, those other people in California that got 5 years probation and no jail time, there was a reason, because they weren't as bad as you, Lorne. The things they said, how much you talked about sex, all of that, it just went into how long you're on probation. I have a theory, but I can't prove it. I wonder if probation and parole, when they did a background check on Lorne, if they didn't find some disturbing stuff, but it wasn't worth putting into evidence, I don't know for sure. Lifetime probation, that's a lot. And that's overkill for some people, but for Lorne it's necessary. But I wonder if it went into their decision to put him on it. Now we know why he hasn't gotten off of it. because he can't pass the class. So I took 5 years, I read it cover to cover, whatever. I don't want to get into that. But I do think maybe there was some interesting stuff that came up. Maybe they did tag him for his past transgressions, the way he talked about his nieces. I know you can't take that into account without it being admitted into court and you having a chance to rebut it. But you can't tell me if you meet somebody who's new at work, and you meet them and they're really nice, you can't tell me that if you find out something about their past, it's not going to affect you. We had a leader who came in, and of course people did their typical background check. They wanted to go find out about him, and they were on a website about corruption and everything else. Multiple witnesses, multiple people came forward with similar stories. Now granted, if it gets people attention, other people are going to do it. If it gets them money, they're coming out of the woodwork. And if they're mad at you for something that was legitimate, they're going to, like part of the Me Too movement was just people who hated other people, allegations, they got fired, and then they got rehired, or they couldn't get rehired even though it turned out that it was a lie. Once people dig into your background and they find something they don't like, or they find something that's legitimate, and it is a reason not to like you, it's going to stick with them, and they can't help but be biased. All of this factors in to why people feel the way they do about Lorne. We know too much. He knows it, but he thinks it was overblown. He thinks that we're just making a big deal out of nothing, and that if we could only see the real him. And I think we also know that no woman is going to watch him be triggered about everything and then say, you know what, I believe you, Lorne. You've lied to me over the phone with me not even there. You've lied to me and done things, and you expect me to fly out there, and all of a sudden you're going to be this great guy, because he believes the whole reason he's angry, the whole reason he's triggered, is that they are not there, which is a warning sign. It means he's mad because he's not getting what he wants. He wants it now. He wants them out there. Every day he's thinking about them coming out there. He's getting angry about it. I mean, when you're sitting around all day creating scenarios in your head and you snap about things that don't even happen, when you're getting triggered by things that haven't happened, I can't see how anyone would want to be around you. Now granted, we know that Lorne, he goes off because he wants them to confirm that all of these imaginary scenarios didn't happen. Probably watching a movie with something, you must be in love with them. One of my favorite calls, I may have mentioned it before, is when the headset didn't work, and in the background it sounded like Lorne was calling Cadence. One ball, bitch. And then I would walk around. I know you with one ball, bitch. You can't even scratch an itch. That's one of my favorite calls. I just wanted to just mention that because it makes me laugh. His voicemails during the wrecking ball when he didn't have his headset charged. Not calling him back. Trigger. Not believing him, even though he just lied to you. Trigger. He's a liar. And Lorne must know that because he's a liar, every other guy must be a liar. Well, I got busted for lying. They must have been busted for lying. You don't see them. Why can't you see that? You don't see them as I see them. Trigger. His mother not seeing him as the best sibling. Trigger. Being asked questions he doesn't want to answer. Huge trigger. Probably the biggest trigger for him is you not calling him back. When he's, sorry about yesterday, when I did the whole Psycho saga, sorry about that. I was just upset. Didn't have a lot of time with you. I mean, look at the excuses he comes up with. Gets triggered, thinks he was right to be triggered, tries to apologize, giving the reason that he was triggered so that they know it was their fault. I just reacted that way because it's your fault. And when all of your triggers are blamed on everyone else, when all of your triggers are everyone else, you have a massive emotional problem. And your mental state is not going to be stable, and it's not going to be reliable. You never know what you're going to get. Even though you should know that Lorne gets angry about everything, you never know what's going to set him off. You never know when his emotions are going to be overpowering. When he's no longer just angry, he's enraged. When he's no longer sad, he's depressed. All of that stuff matters. You have to figure out What can I accept? Do I accept that what I do triggers him in some way? Do I accept that he enrages over little things? Can I look past all of that? What might be the scariest trigger for him is when he doesn't find something on you, when he doesn't get the answers he wants. He wants you to be cheating. He wants his feelings to be justified. When he doesn't find that out, you must be lying. So that triggers him. The bottom line is that when you can't figure out what makes somebody go off or somebody feel a certain way and you think you might be causing it, things are not going to work out. They're not going to be okay. So with Lorne, I don't think anyone could survive. It's why he has no friends, no girlfriends, why his family doesn't want anything to do with him. His emotional ups and downs, brain patterns going crazy because of his bipolar. I think when it comes down to it, not even Lorne knows what triggers him. Because when you're angry about everything, you have no idea when you're not angry. And if you feel the same way all of the time, you're not triggered. It's like Bruce Banner when he says, "That's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry." That was for a purpose. Lorne is always angry, period. That's my Tuesday morning video. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one.
Hang on, I can't even catch my breath. Hang on.
Yeah, this